God, what the is that? Ah!
A new No Man's Sky update just dropped today. That is update 4.1, the Fractal update. Everything you need to know and more here in the LZ. My fellow travelers, you thought the Snowflake update was going to be something more than what it actually is, and now you're here to lament your sadness or excitement. Always great to have you here. In our video today, I want to talk through our patch notes, kind of give you some initial impressions of this update, and we'll pick out some of the marquee aspects of this Fractal update. So on the screen there, you'll see them scrolling, and check the description for the link to the patch notes as well. So leading up to the Fractal update, of course, there's always going to be a maelstrom of hype and speculation, and of course, it's always good to manage your expectations accordingly. And if you follow me on Twitter at the LZ Tweets, check the description for that too. And I think in my previous video, we talked about kind of what the reasonable expectations for the Fractal update could be. So from my initial impressions so far, the Fractal update really is just primarily a PSVR 2 update alongside a new expedition and some sprinkles on top. Now, those are some pretty good sprinkles, to be fair, but really just to sell the idea, the patch notes are pretty much just interwoven with endless PSVR 2 enhancements and changes to VR in general. I am happy to report, I was just scrolling my Twitter feed and somebody had said that this is like a Beyond 2.0, and to a degree, that kinda is, with the exception of I'm not falling through the dang terrain every 3 minutes. Happy to report that you are in fact able to land your ship and not fall through the ground like the 6 months post Beyond a few years back. That's great news, at least in my initial testing. But for the handful of you who are buying or have bought PlayStation VR 2, this is the update for you. Now, if you haven't been keeping up with No Man's Sky updates, No Man's Sky got a VR functionality a few years back with the No Man's Sky Beyond update. And of course, if I'm reading it correctly, because I'm not a VR aficionado, when it comes to VR, that's pretty much where my channel content droops, because VR and I don't really get along all that well. But if you're a VR player, you are definitely eating good. Now, of course, if you're asking, this is not one of those demo apps, sort of like Ace Combat 7 or something that just comes with a small gift of VR functionality. No Man's Sky is pretty much the full VR experience, the full game. You can play everything and experience everything. I think there are some hitches there, again, that I'm not familiar with, that VR players are telling me that really isn't the same. But for most all intents and purposes, this game is the full experience on VR. And folks are really liking it. There is a lot of image quality improvements up to 4K. There was a lot of graphical changes, particularly around alien artifacts and things like that, which look really cool. One of the bigger themes with most recent updates is that they really like to do sort of graphical enhancements to No Man's Sky with like particles and dusts and sparks and things like that. So, of course, that update, the Fractal update, comes with that. If you're a Switch player, well, you're eating good as well, because there have been some enhancements as far as movement tracking with your controller. You're getting a couple of new features, Nexus missions, for example. One of the campaigns is also showing up that didn't make the launch for the Nintendo Switch edition. If you had followed coverage for the Nintendo Switch version of No Man's Sky, you'd know that there was a couple of things that it didn't really get, like settlements, for example. That wasn't there. A couple of missions, some of the little nuances that couldn't make it for whatever reason are starting to show up. Settlements, I don't think, are in the patch notes here from what I could tell. Improved HDR, lighting, and color grading. There was a new ship that was introduced. I'm kind of excited for that. They're calling it the Utopia Speeder, and this is alongside the Utopia Expedition that's launching shortly after this update. The expeditions never launch day and date with the update. Usually, and of course this is conjecture, but this gives them time to sort of flesh out and fix some of the bugs that usually arrives with new updates. It's like that every update. So you're depending on what kind of scale of bugs that you're going to see with this update and how long it takes to address those will be how long it takes for the expedition to arrive. So you're probably looking like, next week sometime. But back to the ship, that looks really impressive. I love it when they add new ships. I don't love it, actually. I like it, but I don't love it. Because if you know me, and you're part of my hashtag shipbuilding family, you know that we want some shipbuilding and customization. I'm not being picky. I'm just saying there's potential there. Anyway, drag me in the comments or celebrate our brother and sisterhood of shipbuilding demands for No Man's Sky. And then finally, there's some bangers in the bullet points at the bottom of the list there. There's a lot of quality of life stuff that is really fun. I'm still discovering a lot of these. A lot of it is around accessibility. They've expanded accessibility greatly. They've expanded the options screens to be, first off, available at the title screen, which is something I've been crying about for a while. So you can, mess around with the graphics and stuff at the very beginning before even launching the game. That's great. They've made some enhances as far as, just kind of how it's ordered and organized to make it easier to navigate. That's awesome. Overall, if you were hoping for a deep update for No Man's Sky Fractal, it's not super deep if you're not a VR player. There's some enhancements, bug fixes, and not a lot of feature depth there from what I'm seeing so far. Of course, look for my review coming up here very shortly. Of course, hang out here in the LZ for more information and coverage for No Man's Sky and stuff related.